It's now time to move on to one of the key highlights of our conference, the keynote address. Our keynote speaker today is a multitasker. He is a management consultant, a professional speaker, a social mentor, and an avid knowledge seeker. He has contested at the World Championship of Public Speaking 3 times and was also the world number 2 at the World Championship of Public Speaking 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, Dimension 2018 takes immense pleasure in introducing our keynote speaker for today, distinguished Toastmaster Aditya Maheswaran.
Hi, good morning. I was told to enter at the perfect time. I hope I didn't screw up. It's so lovely to see all of you. How are you doing? You know, the job that I would envy most is being the district conference chair of District 82. Because each division in District 82 set the benchmark so high to how to hold a conference that it's impossible to think of what the district can do so different or magnificent to match the level. So congratulations Team Dimensions to start off with. And thanks for having me here. Great job. Well done. Well done. When I heard the name Dimension first, I couldn't help but think of the dimensions in our own personalities. Each of us have so many dimensions that make us. Some more polished, some more crude, some more sharp, some little blunt. Over the last decade or so, I've had the opportunity to work with, learn from, and advise some of the top leaders of the country. CEOs, CXOs, in the corporate world, outside the corporate world. And my observation, I've always been curious, being a Toastmaster, I've always been curious, what differentiates the successful from the average? When I was in Toastmasters, the question I would love to ask myself is, what differentiates the good speakers from the average? In my profession, I keep asking myself, what dimension of a personality differentiates successful people from the average? One of the dimensions that I've observed that differentiates a successful person in his or her field from the average is the dimension of excellence. You know what excellence means? It's different from excellent. Excellence is the way you do a certain thing. I learned my first lesson about excellence probably 6 years ago when I left Chennai to do my MBA in Hyderabad. You see, when I joined my MBA, B school, I wanted to create an image to the other fellow peers and colleagues who were doing the MBA with me about what kind of a person Aditya is. So I wanted to create an image that I am this very supportive person who they can bank on. I wanted to create an image that I'm a very good table tennis player so that I can be part of the B school table tennis team. I wanted to create this image that I have a very solid consulting past background so I can be the go-to person for any consulting queries, right? Now we all have images that we want others to see us as. Right? If I ask you, what do you want people around you to see you as? You may say, I want them to see me as a great speaker. You may say, I want them to see me as an empathetic human being. You may say, I want them to see me as someone who's very outspoken or aggressive or someone who speaks your mind. We all have a social image that we want people around us to see us as. Am I right? Yeah? So my social image in the B school was these things. I wanted people to see me as a supportive person. I wanted people to see me as a good table tennis player, a sportsman who can be part of the B school team, and a person who is probably the go-to person for any consulting related queries. You know, 1 month passed And of course, I was talking to people about these things. Wherever I got an opportunity, I was trying to build this image. And 1 month later, you know what I was most known for in my business school? I was known as the person who used to love having mutta dosa every morning for breakfast. Okay. I didn't steal that. So I was known as the person who was very interested in having mutta dosa every morning for breakfast. I was wondering, I worked hard for an entire month to build an image of myself. Every time I got an opportunity, I'll take my TT bat and go to the TT room to show that I'm interested in TT. Every time there's a question on consulting, I will shoot an answer on WhatsApp groups and other things saying I can help. But nobody remembered me for all of these things. They remembered me because I had mutta dosa. Even I didn't notice that I used to have that every morning. And that's when it struck me. It struck me because the image that I ended up creating among people was what I was doing, irrespective of whether other people were watching me or not. And that is excellence. Though there's no brownie points in being excellent in having mutta dosa in the morning, that taught me excellence. You see, I was having dosa every morning because that was one of the few good things available in the canteen in my B school. But I did not have it because another person was watching it. I was having it because I wanted to have it. I used to have it whether I'm the only person in the canteen or whether there are 100 people around me. I used to have it whether it's the morning, afternoon or dinner. I used to have it whether I'm fully hungry or half hungry. I used to have it whether I'm going with 4 more people or whether I'm going alone. I had it for the sake of the dosa, not to create an image around that for people around me. I was still struggling to create an image of being a good table tennis player because here I would go to the TT room only if there are people around. I would go play TT only if I'm feeling fit that day. It wasn't an automatic process. Having dosa became a second nature to my personality, but this was still a thing I was trying to create around me. And that gave me a very powerful lesson. Successful people have a dimension of excellence far superior than average people. And this dimension of excellence, whatever they do, becomes second nature, like this example taught me. And therefore people around them start seeing them as that. You see, there's a very, very interesting example of Michelangelo. Have you heard of the Sistine Chapel? Yeah, the Sistine Chapel is an architectural marvel in Rome. The Sistine Chapel is a beautiful building, 600 years, 700 years old, and it's painted, the entire ceiling is painted, and the ceiling is way high, you can't even see it from the ground. It's very famous because the ceiling was painted by the famous Michelangelo, and the most famous painting there is called The Last Judgment. Now it is said that when one day, 600 years ago, when the Sistine Chapel was getting painted, there was this guy who walked into the chapel and Michelangelo was up there right at the ceiling through a lot of scaffolding and stuff, doing something right at the ceiling. It was already 3 in the morning and Michelangelo had been working for 4 hours continuously. So this guy asked Michelangelo, "What are you doing up there?" Michelangelo replied saying, "You see, I'm drawing the face of a person and I just feel that the right eye is not symmetric to the left eye. I'm trying to change the eyelashes and the dimension of the eye to make the face symmetrical." This guy was perplexed. He said, "Are you stupid? From this point in the ground, nobody can even know there is a face in that painting, leave alone see whether it's symmetrical or not. Who can even see that the right eye is not symmetrical to the left?" And Michelangelo said, "Yeah, people can't, but I would know it's not symmetrical." That is excellence. Excellence is what you do whether someone is watching you or not. Excellence is what you are whether you want to create an image or not create an image. And because you do it irrespective of whether people are watching, you do irrespective of whether it should be done or not. You do irrespective of whether you are in the mood or you're not in the mood. You do irrespective of whether you wake up fresh or wake up tired. Then people start seeing you as excellent in whatever field or whatever activity that you do. It's very true in Toastmasters as well. You see, there is a difference, for example, between a DTM and being distinguished. Now, DTM is a badge, a title. You do a set of 40 projects, blah, you become DTM. But to become distinguished is tougher. A lot of DTMs are very concerned. You know, I've completed my DTM, but I'm not getting enough of respect and adulation that some of the other DTMs are when they go to a club or an area. Because DTM is an activity. Being distinguished is excellence. You realize being distinguished requires you to be distinguished whether or not you're on stage. You cannot be a leader when you come into a Toastmaster meeting. You've got to be a leader as a person, whether you're sitting at home, whether you're having breakfast, whether you're alone watching a movie, or whether you're sleeping. It's an aura that you carry. And therefore excellence, the first lesson of the dimension of excellence that I observe that successful people have, much more than average people, is that excellence becomes second nature for them. So in case you want to become a good speaker, realize you cannot be a good speaker in a division contest and be a bad speaker at office. You got to be a good speaker irrespective of where you're presenting. If you want to be a good leader, realize you cannot be a good leader when you're sitting in the head table and have 4 people there and go home and shout at your watchman or your security or your spouse. You have to be an empathetic leader everywhere. That's the test. It pervades you. It's like how philosophers define love. Philosophers say for love to be true, you cannot love a person or a object or a tree or a thing. For love to be true, you got to radiate love around you, and it meets every object that it touches. And that's why you never say, I'm in love with someone. You just say, I'm in love. And that encapsulates everything that surrounds you. So is excellence. You never say, I'm excellent at public speaking, but I'm indisciplined going to the gym. To you to be excellent in public speaking, you need to be excellent in everything else in life. Then you become a better human being, better person, and the spillover of that is excellence in whatever activity you do. So a true mark for you to be excellent in Toastmasters, what's the yardstick, what's the litmus for that? The true mark for you to be excellent in anything in life is that you will have the spillover of that excellence in any other activity that you take as well. So that's the first lesson about excellence that I learned. When I learned that people rather saw me have mutta dosa, which I didn't even want to create an image of, as opposed to a lot of things I was trying to create an image of, but really wasn't too successful in that because they couldn't observe excellence in those activities. The second lesson about excellence that I've learned watching successful people and in comparison to average people is that there's a clear difference in the role that successful people see themselves play, which is very different from the job that they've been assigned to do. Let me give you an example. It's a very famous example of a group of people who went to NASA. NASA? Yeah? And they went to NASA and they were walking through the corridors and they saw a janitor doing his job. What does a janitor do? Mop the floor, clean the equipments, etc. Right? Now they saw this janitor doing his job, cleaning the equipments, and they asked him, what's your role in NASA? Janitor said, oh, hi, my role in NASA is to send man to moon safely. It's like, what? No, your role is to clean the equipment. No, that's my job. My job is to clean the equipments. My role is to send man to moon safely. They said, how is that your role? You're a cleaner. He said, sir, let me explain. You see, I ensure that the equipments are kept cleanly, which ensures there is no dust accumulation, which ensures the equipments are not vulnerable to failure, which ensures during the launch day it takes off, the rocket takes off as per the launch plan, which ensures that man reaches moon safely. So my job is to clean the equipment, but the role I play for NASA is to send man to moon safely. And these guys were shocked. These guys are, oh, that's excellence. So to be excellent, you don't need to be the CEO or the head of NASA. You can still be a janitor and see yourself playing a larger role and how your job contributes to that larger role. When I joined Toastmasters, I came on stage and spoke. Now, I still come on stage and speak. My job hasn't changed much as a Toastmaster. But let's see how the role that I see myself play has changed over time, and what difference that has made to me as a speaker and a leader. When I joined Toastmasters, the role that I saw myself play is what I call chasing applause. Yeah? What is chasing applause? Okay. Thank you. So exactly, this is what used to draw me to come back again and again. I used to love the sound of applause, the trophies, getting the best speaker award. I remember the first time I won the best speaker award, I went back home, ran and told my mother, saying, look at this beautiful ribbon, I won it. She gave me a little box and said, Aditya, keep accumulating these ribbons till the box is full. That used to be my motivation. I used to go club after club to win those trophies, win those ribbons, win those awards. And chasing that applause was the role that I saw myself play. Do you understand what role means? Role is, why do you do what you do? So I went to Toastmasters to win those trophies, to win those ribbons. It gave me that satisfaction to win that award. And therefore, since this is the role that I saw myself play, the kind of speeches that I delivered, the kind of content I used, the kind of personality that I was, is always a reflection of the role that I saw myself play. I used to give speeches that would ensure that I win the prize. I used to speak in a way that was a lot more about me and about how I can get that applause and appreciation. What happened is after a few years, it starts getting boring. My mother said, there's no other dabba in the house, so there is no place to keep more ribbons, so don't bring home more trophies. If you want to bring trophies, you find a place to keep it, not in the house. And then it started it became a little lackluster. So a few years later, the role that I saw myself play changed from chasing applause to creating impact. Now I thought this is the role that I play as a public speaker, to create impact. So now, more than even winning a trophy, what I would love to hear is if someone after my speech comes and tells me, Aditya, that was an amazing conclusion. Aditya, wow, what body language. Aditya, your voice modulation was perfect in the speech. Aditya, that example you gave was just on the money. These are things that made me happy. These are things that made me feel powerful, because that's the role that I saw myself play. I used to say, winning or losing doesn't matter as long as the audience come and tell me they loved my speech. That's the phase of Toastmastering that I was. And therefore, everything I did reflected the role that I was seeing myself play. From chasing applause to creating impact. What happened in 2015 is I went to the World Championship of Public Speaking in Las Vegas. Where in the final stage, in the beautiful Caesar's Palace, as the top three were announced, my name was announced as the first runner-up. And I got enough dosage of both, right? Chasing applause, a huge standing ovation by 3,000 people sitting there. Creating impact, yes, the first Indian representing India to have entered the finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking. But there was something still lacking. It didn't give me as much joy as I thought it would give. So I came back home to India a couple of weeks after that. And I was going through my mails and WhatsApps, all congratulatory mails from loved ones, and a lot of strangers as well. And one mail caught my attention. Now this mail was from this lady in France, Paris. I didn't know her, never met her, never communicated with her, but she had sent me an email, actually a message on Facebook. Now this is what she said. Aditya, I happened to see a speech on live streaming. The World Championships are normally live streamed, so you can actually pay and watch it live along with the live audience there. She said, I watched your speech on live streaming called The Scratch. The speech I had given in 2015 was called The Scratch. It is about how my beautiful black car gets scratched, and in the process of polishing that scratch, I end up creating emotional scratches on my loved ones. All it took was $500 and a polish to repair the car scratch, but it took much longer and greater effort to repair the scratches that you create on your loved ones. That's the theme of the speech. Now coming back to this mail. Now she says, Aditya, I saw your speech, The Scratch. And I want to tell you something, and that's why I'm typing this message. 5 years ago, my own brother and I stopped talking to each other. In fact, a couple of years ago when my father died, we came to the funeral, but we still didn't talk to each other. After seeing his speech, Scratch, I decided to polish the scratch, and I called him over to my house for coffee. Yesterday he came home and we spoke for 4 hours, and why we haven't spoken for 5 years, we will never know. Thank you so much for changing my life. And at that moment I realized that the role that I was seeing myself play as a public speaker, as a Toastmaster, as a world champion contestant, was no more chasing applause, was no more creating impact. It had now moved to changing lives. And the moment I saw my role as a catalyst, a tool that could change lives, that could change perspectives, the way I saw myself changed. And the way I saw myself change, obviously what I speak changes, the way I craft the message changes, the content I choose changes, the way I stand and deliver changes. My job was still the same, that to come on stage and deliver a speech. But when I saw my role as that of chasing applause, there was something I could deliver. When I saw my role as that of creating impact, there was something else I could deliver. But when I see my role as a possibility to change someone's life, the way you stand and deliver completely changes. So the second difference that I observe continually of successful people of any field, art or sport or speaking or leadership or corporate or NGO, wherever it is that the role they see themselves play has no upper ceiling. The job could still be limited. You may be a clerk all your life. You may be an assistant all your life. You may be a software developer. You may be a CEO, whatever it be. Your job is limited. But the role that you see yourself play determines how excellent you are at any activity that you do. So when I look at dimension, and when I look at dimensions of our own personalities, I realize the dimension of excellence is what that creates superior performance in whatever field that you do. But to elicit, to draw, to leverage the dimension of excellence, remember, excellence should become second nature. Remember, people observe you basis what you do, whether or not they're observing you. People create an image of you basis what you do because you love doing it, not what image you want to create around you. And also remember, your job could be limited, your job could be dependent on your background, qualification, education, your net worth and all of that. But the role you see yourself play could be that of changing the world. And therefore the job that you do, the excellence in the job you do, changes automatically. Just like the NASA had the same role, the janitor had the same role of that of the CEO. The jobs were very different. On that note, I wish excellence for each one of you in this day. To all the contestants who are going to come and speak, is your role that of a person coming here and winning the contest? Is your role that of a person coming here and creating impact on 500 people? Or is your role an opportunity to deliver a message you truly believe in and change the lives of people? Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was our keynote speaker for today, distinguished Toastmaster Aditya Maheswaran. Thank you, Aditya, for inspiring us to not just be average, but to achieve excellence. It was a fitting keynote, and we couldn't have asked for a better start to our conference today. We would like to call up on stage the conference chair, distinguished Toastmaster Gautam Sharma, to felicitate our keynote speaker for today, distinguished Toastmaster Aditya Maheswaran.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Gautam.
Another small announcement, we have our sponsors having set up stalls outside our conference venue, and we request you to go and visit the stalls whenever you get time. We have offers for all participants, and we also have a lucky draw happening, so you can all test your luck as well.